welcome to everybody and thank you for coming out. If you guys have questions at the end, I have part of my staff here. I have Juan and Sharon and Henry that are my Spanish-speaking side of the business. Sharon does both. She's Spanish and English. But we have, if you notice the flyers that you received, were English on one side, Spanish on the other. And I do have staff that can handle that for you as well. Okay. Excellent credit score. Our corporate office has been around since 1999. I'm a managing partner of the company, so I'm cover the western United States. And then my office is based out of Anaheim Hills. All right. We are, as I show right here, we are not credit repair. I always like to start with that because I want to give you guys a basis for what is the difference. Why are we different? We're like a Tyrannosaurus Rex driving a Ferrari in the 21st century. Okay. We're way different than the other animals that are out there, and I'll get into why. Okay. And I want you to keep that thought in your mind. Who has an idea of why we're not credit repair? Who knows what traditional credit repair is? Anybody? Anybody dealt with it in here? Okay, so let's get into that right away. Traditional credit repair, I like to term it as a hope, a wish, and a prayer. What they do is the letters are out there on the internet and you can get them public libraries, whatever. What they're going to do is they're going to address the items on a report. Their basis for their dispute is strictly the 30 to 45-day window that the bureaus have to respond. Then the items will come off. It's temporary. The items are going to come back after 6 to 8 months, generally. Not in every case, but like Stuart says, there's a lot of different things. We see a lot of them re-report 6 months, 8 months, 16 months later. We just never know, but they will come back. Okay, how we're different is our items come off, and they come off permanently, never to reappear. Okay, the big question we have is, what can come off? And here we have, anything that's negative on a report will come off. Okay, that's critical, anything. Child support, tax liens, those are the big ones. Student loans is the other big one. People say, oh, you can't get a student loan off. Now, the critical part of what we can get off is this. We're not relieving the debt. Okay, what did I say?
Not relieving the debt.
Right. And I need you guys to emphasize that, or I will when we meet with your clients. We are not taking the debt away. If I get a tax lien off of that report, IRS is still in the wings and they're still going to come after them. It's critical that they know we're not taking away the debt. Okay, same with a student loan. We all know student loans will never go away. That's a government-backed thing that's going to stay with that person, whatever they do. Property tax liens, same thing. They're going to be chasing those people. And there's even credit card companies right now that will file to garnish wages. They will file a judgment. There's Citibank, American Express. They're going very aggressively after the consumer. So many of these consumers have run up that credit card debt, and they will think that they're out of the woods on that. And those companies will come after them, and they will file a judgment against them. Okay, they will garnish wages. So any items that are on here. Bankruptcy, we can do a bankruptcy while they're in it. As they go into it, I have clients that go into bankruptcy while we're working on their credit, because what you need to understand is we are working strictly with the credit bureaus. We're not working with the creditors. They're going to report to the bureaus. Is that clear, everybody? I'm not going to be dealing with Capital One or Chase or Citibank. I'm working with the bureau and what they report and how they report it. Okay? The creditors are not our responsibility. So anything negative. Okay, I'd like to give a little overview of what we see in reports. We know that about 79 to 88% of the numbers that linger out there of credit reports have errors on them. Okay, that's critical for the homeowner that you guys are trying to work with, because many times they don't have stuff that belongs to them. And these are the numbers. 64% had someone else's negatives. That's a big number. Okay, 23% belong to relatives. We see a lot of common names where they're not a junior or they're not a senior, and the information gets merged because the social or the identity has been misconstrued in the process. 13% belong to ex-spouses. That's a kind of probably a low number at this point. 94% of all consumers had uncorrected errors. So they've tried it, they've utilized different services to try to change it, and they had no success. And then 91% complained about the bureaus not responding. That's a common place. We get responses, but we don't promise responses in every aspect either. We know they delay, we know that they cause different things to happen. And then 86% outside of our program said that they had items that reappeared. Okay, that we know that items come back. You guys can probably talk to people that you know, and there's many examples of stuff that reappears. With us, it does not reappear. Okay, I like to talk to people, because we all got credit. We received cards, we got it, and we had no idea what makes up a FICO score. So I like to give, part of our program is an educational based, and it's dispute based. So our clients get two aspects to this. We want them to understand the components of the score and what they're going to get into in the future if they co-sign on a loan, if they do different things. We want them to understand. So we are educational based. We also have the dispute side. Okay? It's a twofold program. What is their score? It's their credit worthiness. How much risk are they to those lending institutions? Are they a high risk because they have short sale foreclosures, bankruptcies, charge-offs in the last 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, whatever it is? And based on that, the other factors that come in is, what's your credit history? What have they done for the last period of time? Usually 48 to 81 months. There's ranges in there for different creditors. Your credit use, 30%. Okay? If you're using it all the time and you're paying it down or you're carrying high balances, all those factors weigh into this. How long have you had your accounts? Has this account been for 12 months? And you'll see many times on the reports it'll say account history not long enough, or we see lower scores in different avenues on the reports. What types of credit do you have? Do you have items that are a lot of student loans because they don't help your score as much? Or do you have a variation? Do you have a home loan? Do you have an auto loan? Do you have a revolving credit or two? So those are all the factors that come in to make up 10% of your score. And then the last one is new accounts. How many new accounts have you opened up? Have you applied for 30 new accounts in the last 90 days? Or have you applied for 5 in the last 2 or 3 years? All those are going to affect how your score is accumulated. Many people look at this program and they say, how did this program that you have, how did this evolve? Okay, our CEO and founder, in 1998, he was helping a friend with a jewelry store. And what she was doing was trying to boost business. So he was handing out applications, and consumers would come over and he'd say, congratulations, what is the merchandise you would like? He had a lady that came in and she was irate because she was denied on credit, and she had had good credit as she knew it over all these years. After their argument went back and forth, and he couldn't give her an answer, he decided to go back and look at this Fair Credit Reporting Act. With that, his best friend had just completed the bar, and they were in Tennessee because Bruce was a songwriter in Nashville, and they put their heads together and started looking at this Fair Credit Reporting Act and try to figure out what kind of answer they should have been able to give to this person, and what was this whole thing that they were dealing with. So Bruce came up with consumer disclosure. Okay, what does that mean? As a songwriter, he had written a number of songs, and his friend that was the attorney was going to sign the disclosure form on these. His idea was, we can just sign one blanket form for all of these songs. And his friend said, no. You have to sign a disclosure on every single song that you've put together. That's how it's going to be. So with that, they then took and looked into the Fair Credit, and they realized that there's some consumer disclosure in there that possibly wasn't being followed. And they dug into it. It was a long process. It was not an overnight. And if any of you decide to look at it, there's 200 laws and there's 400 sub-laws, and then there's subsections to every law. This was about a 2-year process for Bruce and his close friend that was an attorney. They spent a lot of hours evolving and learning about this process. And what came out of that was our 37-point system that we utilized to use Section 609 and dispute items on behalf of the consumers. Okay, what it says is the bureaus have to have 2 things. They must have verifiable proof. Okay, that's key for all of us, because we want to make sure that account belongs to that consumer, number one, because there's identity theft rampant in our world today, correct? So we want to make sure, number one, that account belongs to that customer, that client. The second part is the bureaus are required to have copies of the original documents of whatever the transaction that's negative is. Mortgage, car, credit card. Does anybody know, do the credit bureaus have a warehouse full of documents that they collect? Anybody know that? Anybody? Do they? Do they collect documents? No. How do they report? Electronically. In 1972, they used microfiche, which was the medium of communication at that time. Now they've gone into all the other electronic reporting that's out there. So they don't have the ability to send that. They could very well go out and do it, They could go and send someone to the courthouse at the county recorder's office and get the documents, but they'd have to have a massive warehouse with numerous people chasing down these documents. So if they went to that level, what would that mean? Anybody? Increase what?
Yeah, cost.
Right. They get paid to report right now. They don't need to do anything more. They make a lot of money reporting. So they don't need to bring on additional resources to do what they've been doing since the 70s and even earlier. Okay? The deleted items on our process are permanent, and they are backed by federal law. The Federal Trade Commission and the Attorney General in the jurisdiction of the client will regulate that these items must stay off permanently, and I'll explain that a little bit more. Okay, so the question, I got ahead of myself, but why don't the credit reporting agencies obtain the documents that's required by this?
Space, costly, you know.
Space, costly.
Like maintenance, like you need a overhead cost was too high.
Correct. And a lot of people say, well, what if I'm the first one and they go and do that on me? Or what if they start doing it next year? Right now, it's the law. And we know that they can't go and submit a change to this law that was written in '72 and get it passed in a short period of time. There's going to be a lot of bureaucracy that goes on, and there's going to be a lot of resistance from consumer groups because the consumers, this is a way out for them. The other big reason is we don't send 2 or 3 million files a month to them and use our process. We've helped about 300 to 350,000 people since 1999. We're not even on their radar. We're a flea on their back, and they don't even know we're there right now. So that's a big reason why we've been so successful and utilize this.
Pretty much when you get in touch with them, you say, this flea, this bed bug is bothering you, let me get him out and give you what you need, and that they let you go. Count.
I wish it was that easy, but that's
the goal, right?
They will play a game. They play
Yeah.
cat and mouse. They don't just roll over. Everybody thinks, oh great, I'll be done in 90 days.
Uh-huh.
They're not going to be done in 90 days. They play cat and mouse. They change their address. We know every summertime when vacation time comes, the credit bureaus want to offload their mailing, so they change their address.
So they moved from California to Texas.
So if you're reporting on 230 million people
Uh-huh.
as the average, and you change your address, does your mailbox go way down in stuff that's delivered to you? They do it every year annually, right around the same month. We monitor and we know what happens, okay? So we talked about why doesn't somebody go to Congress and try to change this? A lot of it is the bureaus are good with what they're doing. They're reporting, they're making great money reporting for the different clients that they have. And there's no need to change what's been existing since 1972. So in our program, there's no other entity out there that uses our program. Okay, this is federal law. It's mandated by the Federal Trade Commission and the Attorney General. And if we need to go to that level, and we do, we will file on behalf of the client. We will notify them that we're filing based on their non-compliance with the law, and we will be filing a complaint with the Federal Trade and the Attorney General. If they still fail to comply, there's a $1,000 penalty per item per bureau. Okay, that money, we've never had to go to that stage, but it's in our process, and it benefits the client. So this, Section 609 is the law that we're dealing with, and like I said, there's many subsections. The thing I like to emphasize with people is this is a process. And you notice I have it capitalized with exclamation. It is a process. The client took a long time to get into this position. They didn't establish these derogatory lines in 90 days. It's years of doing the things. Maybe they had a mishap on a short sale, something like that. But there's examples for all of that. And there's cases behind all of that. It's a process. It's going to be a process for us to get them out, just like it was to get them in. The key to this is we have to have them participate. Okay? I can't send them one round of letters and then they say, good, everything's done. We need them to utilize our educational side. Okay, they're going to get 14 to 16 informational emails. Those things are going to explain to them, what if I co-sign when my score starts going up? So if my son needs a car, maybe I'll co-sign on it. For him, he doesn't have any credit. What if I become an authorized user on an account? What are my risks? What was that account history stuff that I wanted to know about? What does a student loan do for me? They're going to get information to help them understand this whole credit scoring system so that once we're in good shape and they have that score, they're not going back down that road. We're going to educate them and keep them at that level for the future. Okay? The process, many people say, well, what is this process? The process is we're going to meet with your client, verify that they have items that need to come off. We're going to obtain a credit report, have them get one, or I use the free sites, the annual credit report if we can, or if they have a lender that you guys network with, we can get it from them. We only need one, we don't need all three. If you have a tri-merge, great. So we need one bureau if we get it ourselves. And eventually we're going to merge from all three bureaus, so we'll know what's on all three reports. We're not going to miss anything. If stuff comes on late, we'll pick it up during the process. We'll go ahead and draft the letters based on that report that we have. They'll receive everything by email. If they need it by regular mail, we do that as well. But they'll receive it by email. The educational side and all that information comes by email. And then the letters will come. Then we need them to draft or copy 3 forms of identification. Okay, that's to be in compliance with the credit bureaus. They require that. We want to make sure that that name that's on that letter, that's signed by that client, is also verified by some kind of documentation, like a license, copy of a social security card, and a copy of a utility bill, cell phone bill, bank statement, whatever. There's a whole list that comes to them in their welcome package. They will send those off to the bureaus. We give them a tracking chart that they will now say, letters were signed and mailed. Under that, I have up to 45 days. If they don't get a response, they'll let us know. We have a tracking system as well. We'll monitor. Then, if that time passes, we'll go to the next round and continue. If they get a response, they're going to send that over by fax, email, or mail. We're going to process it. We're going to identify what has come off, and we're going to continue with another round of letters. Go ahead,
So
sir.
the process is you guys start working for me, and you guys give them 30 to 45 days for them to respond to any disputed account, correct? And then
Correct.
if there's no answer within that, I'll let you guys know, or I'll let you know as client, I still have that, heard from them, what's next, for example.
Correct. That's correct. And it's critical that you keep some kind of track of it. We're going to be tracking it on our side, but we don't want anybody to fall into the cracks. So I have a new system that we're implementing that when the client logs in, they're going to get a login, and so is the agent that's working with that client. You're going to be able to look at their progress. Where did they start? What has come off? That will also send an email to the client and the agent that brought them in, the loan broker or the realtor. They're going to get an email saying there's been changes to so-and-so's update. All of the clients that that realtor or loan rep or attorney has had in there will be addressed when you log in. Okay, the other thing that the client will get, they'll get a text message if they have the service. The text is going to say, log into your account, there's been changes, please go in and look and see what the updates are. They'll have new letters in there ready to go. We're trying to work it more effectively and efficiently so that we get the best possible outcome at the end. And this system is going to be very helpful, I can tell you. So the last part here is the bureaus are not in compliance with the law. Okay? We're required to follow the law in everything we do. Shouldn't we be able to follow them or have them follow the law and comply? It's been going on for years. It's, like I said, we're not on their radar, but it's been a challenge that we've been successful with. If the client follows the process that we offer, we get the items deleted and they won't reappear. Okay? The last thing is everybody wants to know accountability in our world today. Who's used this service? We have 14 major endorsements. And if you go to our corporate site, which is the Fulfillment Center, you can look at the numerous endorsements that are on there. NAM is, if you guys have been in real estate, you know, NAM is the governing body for the mortgage industry. Okay, they write all the policies and guidelines for lending. Bill Howe was the past president. He endorsed us. He was in touch with us just a couple weeks ago. He had fallen out a little bit because of some health issues. He's back in the mortgage industry, and he said, I need to get some retraining. So he endorsed us when he was just stepping out as president of NAM, and now he is back on track in utilizing us again. Anybody wants, you can call him. I have numerous contact info if people want to call and get references on us. That's it on that. Any questions that you guys have? I wanted to just bring up one last thing. I think it'll show on here.
No.
So a lot of times people want to see what can you get off. And this, I don't know how well you can see it. I just usually keep a few examples. Chapter 13 bankruptcy, it was dismissed, and then we took it off the report. So there, I like to show the big items, bankruptcy, foreclosure, short sale, they do come off. Okay?
Can you make that picture larger so I can read it? There. Projector. You fill up the whole
If
screen.
you want to come up here to the front, you can see it better. I can't get it too low. The other ones are right here, Department of Education. You know, I've said that, I mentioned that that is a protected animal. Again, there's obvious examples that we can take off, Department of Education, bankruptcy. I have foreclosure examples, I have short sale examples. Whatever you'd like to see, we have, I keep a, I don't keep up with it very well, but I have a book that has whatever example you can name, we can remove it out there. Thank you for that. So that's the info in a nutshell. It's strong, it's powerful, and it works. Anybody have any questions?
Yes. For example, we're disputing any negative information they have in our report because they do not have the original copies of the original documents. Can the bureaus come back and tell us, well, you know, we don't have copies of your good report, so why don't you, you know? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we don't have.
You're thinking they're going to come up with proof at some point?
Yeah, well, I'm thinking that they say, well, why you disputed this when we're giving this good on you, this good report on you as well? So why don't you dispute and question our good report as well, for example? You follow me so far?
I think.
Yeah, like for example, why you are arguing that that is bad and asking us for proof, but you don't ask for this one that is good as well, for example?
Because the law doesn't address
That bad, the good ones.
good issues.
Okay.
We're only addressing what the law
So-
says, and that says if you're going to report a negative, you must have these things.
So basically, we're sticking to the section 609 as the law and enforcing that part of the law that said you got to have this in order to have it in my report.
Exactly. And why would you want to dispute a good item?
Because it's good. No, but you know, I was talking, you know,
It's helping you.
coming to I was coming through the agencies coming, the bureaus coming that way. Well, you're disputing part, but not all.
Okay.
I don't dispute the whole thing, rather than just a portion of it.
Okay.
And then now I got my
The
answer.
law specific to the negatives.
Exactly,
Okay.
more specific to the next.
One last thing I forgot to cover is the process. Everybody says the $10 million question is how long does it take?
Yes.
Okay, I can't give you an answer.
Yeah.
Because if I do, I'm in violation of some of the laws that are out there. We're not under the credit repair acts that are out there in the legislation because we're education-based and we're in a different class. But anybody that's giving you guarantees, guarantee is a forbidden word in the credit industry. If they're giving you a guarantee, watch out. And if they're giving you a timeline, watch out.
They lie.
Okay, because we know the Bureau stalled. We don't know when they're going to do it. But I can tell you, an average on files, 45, I see stuff come off in 30 days, but I always say 45. 45 to 90 days, you'll see items coming off. Okay? 5 to 7 months is an average. Now again, I'm not going to compare a guy that has 50 items to the person that has 4 items.
Yeah.
5 to 7 months is a range that we're going to see stuff come off. Do I have people done in 3? Yeah. Do they get enough stuff off in 2 or 3 to get their score high enough that they're good to go buy a house? Yeah, we do. But there's a lot of people that are riddled with a lot of bad debt right now because of the economy and job losses and things like that. So the larger numbers and the age of the account history and many other factors go into play with how those items can come off and when. Okay, the more recent, the more difficult, especially on late payments on a house. They affect the score. If it's less than 12 months, the score is affected dramatically. If they're greater than 12 months, there's a less point deduction on that. So it kind of goes hand in hand on those lates coming off as well. Not always. There's exceptions to every single rule. So I just tell people this is going to be a process. You might be in it. People say, I've had short sales off in 30 days. I've had short sales take 3 months and 6 months, and I've had one that's taken 17 months. So I can't really say, your client, we'll have you done in 2 months. They'll be good to go. Because when I do, you're unhappy with me, and I don't want that. And if I do that, I'm in violation of the law, and I don't operate that way. Okay?
So pretty much it's using your,
That's right.
your negotiating skills in which, to avoid the company, the bureau settle with you in order to have litigation expenses rather than, they say, okay, it's easier for us to delete this than spend X amount of money and hours fighting this guy on this issue, for example, right? Pretty much.
We're not negotiating with them. We're
Just demanding that.
We're asking them to comply, and
Yeah.
as they don't comply, or if they don't, then we're demanding, you will comply, or this is the
No
result.
file a complaint.
We
with-
just did a study, we took 600 random files, and we were typically doing 3 to 5 rounds of letters that were getting more aggressive in each round. And we found that we were getting consistent delays. So in the 600 files, what he did was he got much firmer, much quicker. So in 600 files, we saw a 30% increase in the deletion rate. And what he did on those files was he went 3 rounds of letters and right to a filing, a notice of litigation or an attorney general filing. And we saw a 30% jump in the deletion rate. So we're getting firmer quicker to get better results for the people out there. Okay? Any other question over here, sir?
Good. So let's say you have a select item that you send a letter to them, and we're of course questioning that item. And they come back and they say it's verified. Is that it?
No.
I mean,
They're going to send that back.
okay, what I'd like to know is, what are they giving you guys